Hi there, this is Tiffany with CKC Patterns, and I am going to show you how we do the pleating for Berkeley's dress. So I've started with my fabric cut to the length specified in the pattern based on your size, and it is width of fabric. Then I've gone ahead and found the center of my fabric. I creased it with my iron, and I also marked it with pens at the top and bottom. It's up to you on that. And so from here, I'm going to measure over 1 inch to each side of the center line. And so I have my fabric laid nice and straight on my cutting board so that I can find my 1 inch real easily. And I'm just going to use my disappearing ink marker to draw a line from top to bottom, 1 inch from the center. And I'm going to repeat on the other side, top to bottom, 1 inch from the center. And then from here, I'm going to go and mark every 1/2 inch on both sides from that 1 inch mark until on each side of the center line, I have now drawn 12 lines. And you want to make sure you're taking the time to get these really straight because it definitely would be noticeable with your pleats if they weren't. Okay, so I'm going to finish drawing my lines and then we'll be back. I've just finished drawing all of my lines. So I have my center point here, and then there are 12 lines this direction, center point here, 12 lines this direction. So I'm going to take the first line. Basically, each pleat is going to be made up of 3 lines. So I'm going to take that very first line to the right of my center pin, and that's going to become a crease. Notice now that my fabrics are, I'm pulling them wrong sides together underneath here. So that line is going to become the fold, number 1 line. Number 2 line is going to become the next fold, like backwards. And then number 1 line is going to touch number 3 line. So I'm basically taking number 1, tucking number 2 inside, and then placing number 1 on top of number 3. At this point, we're going to take it to the iron and press it really nice and flat, trying to get everything lined up perfect. And then you're going to sew 1/8 inch from this folded pleat in. And then I'll come back and we're just going to repeat the same thing. Each pleat takes 3 lines. All right, I've just finished sewing the very first pleat. You can see it lays on top of the 3rd line, and I sewed just a 1/8 inch away from this fold. So I'm going to repeat that exact same process with the next line. This is going to be our new line 1. It's actually line number 4. So again, 1 becomes the top of the pleat, fold 2 back underneath, and 1 comes down and lays on top of number 3. Same thing with the press and then sew. I highly recommend that you do 1 pleat at a time, sew it before you go to the next one. Now, if you wanted to add a little something fun to your pleats, you can also, at this step, I would go ahead and press it, and then you can take some piping and tuck it up underneath your pleat and have it come right down in that kind of channel. Pin it in place, and then use your zipper foot to sew 1/8 inch from this folded edge. And it's going to just add a little something, a little pop to your pleat. Totally up to you on that. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this whole right side with my pleats, taking line 1 to line 3, line 1 to line 3, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the other side. It's the same, just flipped. All right, now that we've finished our pleats to this side and our pleats to this side, you can see that they all fold in opposite directions of the center. Now we're going to fold the fabric back on center. And then now at this point, you'll use your pattern piece and place it up against this fold to cut out your bodice. And that's pleating your front bodice for Berkleys.